Marthausen, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hello guys, so this is obviously the last Ball Drops show of Wimbledon 2025. We will no longer do this because we will switch to a more watch-along based system, as you can see by the comment in the chat. Last Ball Drops only makes sense, of course, if there are a lot of matches, which today we had 8 of them on the singles front at the very least, and probably the first one me and Van should talk about is the one that we've just seen right now, and the reason why we're meeting at this very moment, and that was obviously Grigor Dimitrov, 2 sets into maybe the biggest win of his career, and unfortunately being forced to retire after an unfortunate fall.
Yeah, absolutely brutal, sad stuff for Grigor. If you know the history, obviously he's retired mid-match at the last 4 slams, dating back to last year at Wimbledon against Medvedev, and U.S. Open against Tiafoe, and and then the last couple of majors this year. So that's really, really just unfortunate because 2 sets to love. He had an ace as well to hold for 2-all. And the right pec just goes out on him, and yeah, it just did not look good right from the minute that happened. And obviously, Sinner catches a bit of a lucky break here. He himself was also struggling with some wrist elbow issues throughout the second set. But yeah, maybe this is just about how sad it is for Grigor, because I thought he was playing some of his best tennis, and that's kind of been the case the last couple of years. He's been playing some of his best tennis, but the body has just kept failing him in the really big moments. So.
Yeah, 2 sets up and retirement. I mean, is there anyone that you kind of like remember off the top of your head?
Not really, no.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I'm sure there was something like that in history. Obviously,
Actually,
I can remember a lot of.
I think there was a match that he would have played himself in 2021 at Roland Garros.
Yeah, but didn't he like still play a set maybe? And then,
yeah, and then, but I think he finished. I want to say it was against Giron.
Giron, yeah. I was thinking about the 2. Plus, obviously, Ethan Queen Roland Garros. But I think he didn't retire like 2 sets up, but then lost a set and retired maybe or something like that. I mean, that was obviously the case with Queen, but you can check that Giron one.
Yeah, it was 3-1 when he retired there. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Grigor Dimitrov, not the first time. 2014 US Open, Leonardo Mayer against Albert Montañez. Okay, I do not remember that much, Znahir, but that's a good find as well. So yeah, obviously very unfortunate. Grigor wasn't really perceived as one of the contenders to like go deep at this Wimbledon, but mostly because of the injury stuff. So far, he got through 3 rounds. And unfortunately, this happens when he's in such a good position. We had a small conversation in the Talking Tennis WhatsApp group about like what is the best Grand Slam win in Grigor Dimitrov's career, and there really isn't much. Like even if we think about Sinner having some issues here, it would easily be that, and to kind of have this one in his career.
Obviously the Federer win in 2019 at the U.S. Open. I mean, I would probably put this one ahead of that, just given. That Sinner is world number 1, and as Roger was struggling with his back in that match, and for that reason, I would go with this one had he won.
And 10-minute off-court MTO before the start of the 5th, he comes out like just not moving his back, like Arthur Fils said around Garros. So I also would have obviously put this one ahead, and it was actually kind of surprising to me when I started looking through all these Grand Slam wins of Dimitrov and just seeing. I mean, there's not that much. Mari, Wimbledon 2014, that really wasn't a good showing from Andy, but I was thinking about it. And I think there was also a similar one against Thiem, where it's just like such a blowout that you're not really thinking about it as one of his best wins, even though, ranking-wise, at the very least, it is. I don't know about the asterisk, Ghosty. I mean, well, let's actually talk about this. So, Sinner today, can we actually sort of like estimate how serious the issues are?
I don't know. I mean, he was just missing a lot of making a lot of like unreturned serves. Grigor was getting a lot of unreturned serves that I was surprised at Sinner missing that many returns, but I don't even know, to be honest. Like, it's one of those things. I don't know if it would have been serious enough that had he come through, it would have been a factor. He was shaking his right wrist at the end of the second set, and he did get that MTO for his elbow at 3-2 in the second. So maybe there was something bothering him there. I saw Simone Vagnozzi gesturing to Darren Cahill to give him like some Advil, and they had like some tablets ready just in case on the next changeover. So I don't know. As it's always difficult to tell with Sinner and his physical issues. We talked about this before, in terms of just sometimes we think it's going to be an issue for him, and then usually he kind of finds a way, gets through it, like he kind of did against Holger Rune when he was struggling physically in the Australian Open, and then it wasn't really a factor at all the rest of the 3 rounds. So hard to say.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, that like you guys know that I basically have given up on trying to guess body language cues in terms of injuries, physical issues for Jannik. I just cannot differentiate which ones are serious and which ones are, not as bad. So that's really all I can say. Like, I would not be shocked if in the next match he just comes out all guns blazing. And also, I would not be shocked if in the next match we just see more of that. Obviously, last year at Wimbledon, he retired. Well, he didn't retire, but he had a lot of physical problems in the quarterfinals against Medvedev as well. And in these cases with Sinner, I just kind of tend to focus on the opponent a bit more because it was still an amazing level that Daniel was playing at. And yeah, Grigor, obviously not playing since the French, not playing since the retirement, 2-1 against against Queen, also up in that match. And this time, obviously, a very different scenario, gets to the forefront, plays the world number 1, maybe the tournament favorite, or at least on par with Alcaraz. And this happens, which is just incredibly unfortunate for him. Could have been the best one of his career, but I guess, we can just move on to talking about the potential opponent for, well, not the potential opponent, but the opponent for Sinner, who is, of course, Ben Shelton. Before we get to like talking about the actual match, let's just mention the win that he got today over Lorenzo Sonego, which, recently I remember this amazing stat that Sinner was 47-0 in his last 50 matches when not facing Alcaraz, right? And 0-3 against Alcaraz. And this is kind of the same situation, although the sample size is much smaller. But after 3 Grand Slams this year, and having obviously played all of them, Lorenzo Sonego still hasn't lost to anyone but the best Shelton.
Yeah, they just can't avoid each other in these slams lately. And they also played in the 2023 RG. So they played a lot. Like, Ben has only played 12 majors or something, and like 4 of them he's faced Sonego. So pretty wild. He seems to, obviously Sonego was also coming off of that 5-hour win against Nakashima. But he took that first set here, and he had some occasional chances, and like in the third he broke back. It was still like, pretty hard fought for part times in the third, and obviously Sonego won the first. So but yeah, it's like kind of more the same of what I've seen from Shelton this tournament. Just players that he's got used to beating, especially in the best of 5 format, where he just sort of rises to the occasion. His backhand slice has been working really well all tournament. Obviously, the big serve, and just like that big presence and showing up in the tie breaks, delivering, playing good tennis. He returned really well in the second set too. So cleaned some of the aspects of his game up, shortened the backswing a little bit, especially on the backhand, which I have to say looks a little bit more sturdy right now. But obviously, like, the test just gets much bigger, and now he gets another crack at Sinner, who he's played last year at Wimbledon, and there was one close tiebreak there. And Australian Open also this year, where in all likelihood he probably should have won that first set. So
yeah, last year he obviously also arrived in the Sinner match really wiped out after the previous 5 setters. His fault, definitely, but he really didn't have a good chance to compete there. Now, I mean, he has to be looking, I think, at this as a potential chance. He on grass should have a better chance at hanging in, just getting that serve in and hoping that the lottery is kind of going to work in his favor at least, and maybe he can even do more. Obviously, he's an amazing slam player. There's a lot of stats that you could potentially go for, which kind of show that he's basically been performing in these events so much better than the rest of the tour. And also, just the fact that with such a short career still, he's already made so many quarters, semis. And maybe this is the time to take the next step. I mean, what we've seen today against Dimitrov for Sinner definitely makes you think that this should be the toughest. Well, okay, this was a really tough test for Sinner today, but like it makes you think that Sinner will be pushed by Shelton at the very least. Ben has only dropped one set so far, and that was today to Lorenzo Sonego. And like we said before the event, I mean, it doesn't really matter how he does in the warm-ups. He can lose in Mallorca, he could lose to Petros Tsitsipas, and still he would probably be able to turn it on at Wimbledon. That's exactly what he did. Of course, there were a few openings as well along the way, but these openings kind of led to the fact that he played Sonego again, which is super funny. Now I'm just so excited to see what the US Open draw will be, and hopefully they're in the same half. Hopefully they're not just going to be in have to meet in the final, because that's probably impossible. But I would like to see a fourth Sinner Sonego, and we're gonna be getting, as you said, the second Sinner Shelton of the year. I think this one will be much more competitive.
Yeah, all signs point to it being competitive, right? You would think with the Dimitrov match today and how fresh Shelton is and how fresh Sinner could be, because considering he only played 2 hours, and so yeah, this is kind of Ben's chance to elevate on the big stage and get a little bit closer to these top guys. And so we'll see if he can bring it. It will be fun.
Yeah, Sinner obviously has already lost to Shelton in Shanghai 2023. Maybe this was, some sort of tired aspect as well after Beijing. That is possible, absolutely. But, quicker conditions, they definitely can make the margins a little slimmer. And after today, it's just tough to have confidence, at least in Sinner being, in beast mode. That's not probably what we're going to see. Even last year when Ben was so tired and just, almost seemed like it won't be a match, the third set could have won that. I don't think he could have gone much further with it. Like the set was probably enough, but it makes you think that this should be closer this time. I guess we can move on to the other men's matches that we had today, which one of them, for example, was Novak Djokovic. And speaking of favorites looking shaky, that was also the first. Well, actually, no, Novak lost a set to Miller, but that didn't really feel like much. This time, I mean, yeah, there were parts of this one where people were freaking out already and just thinking Novak might not make it. Some issues with the string tension on his rackets, a lot of wind as well at some points of the day today at Wimbledon, which we know that Djokovic is his nemesis is not any other opponent, it's the wind. And yeah, I mean, he was really struggling with Alex de Minaur today.
Yeah, especially the first set. I mean, just a lot of errors off of his forehand. The timing off the ground wasn't really there. Of course, de Minaur was doing a really nice job with his slice and getting down really low and just making Djokovic dig these really uncomfortable balls at his feet in these awkward positions. And he was serving pretty well himself, getting to the net whenever he could, just staying with Novak from the back of the court. And just I mean, it was a good showing from Alex in that first set, although you knew that Djokovic was going to pick up his level, and he did, but it wasn't easy. Even though the 6-4, 6-4, 6-4, he faced a couple of break points to potentially avoid going down 5-all. The big serves really helped him out. I mean, he made a way higher percentage of first serves in the second set compared to the first. It was two completely different players in terms of just the serving alone. And then in the third as well, there were a few tight moments occasionally where you felt like, okay, de Minaur, if you can get a break here, this Djokovic isn't out of turning this match around completely. But the big one was in the fourth set, of course, where he's down break point to avoid going down 5-1 in the fourth. And that once Djokovic got out of that game, it was really quite something to see him win 14 of the last 16 points in the match and just completely locked down from the baseline and just finding the backhand on the line, not struggling as much with the lower shots that he was. Even though he won the third and second, de Minaur was really hanging in there, making it really, really difficult and physical. But once Djokovic was able to kind of get control of the shorter points, and that's really kind of what happened in this match, is Djokovic dominates the shorter points. de Minaur has a big edge when it goes 5+ shots. So we'll see if that ends up if this ends up sharpening Djokovic for the rest of the tournament, or it's kind of a sign that actually, he's not quite where he wants to be, even though he played really well in rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, probably the best chance, I mean, this year that I saw for Novak to win a slam was Wimbledon because, well, now it seems like against certain opponents at least, he needs that serve to be firing. He needs to get that first shot in and win the points pretty quickly. Although I didn't really think that Minaur was going to be one of these opponents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm willing to just put it as like, a bad day at the office. In the key moments, he survived. Other than that fourth set, there was also the second when Alex has a chance to break back at 4-5. He misses like a forehand approach shot long, definitely makeable, probably gets the point if this lands in the line. So a couple of moments there where the Minaur could have done a bit more, a bit of an ugly match for the most part. He survives, and I guess that's what's the most important. And I mean, next up, we were probably expecting him to play. Well, actually, I don't know. But Marin Cilic, that was a potential rematch of like one of the few players who have defeated him on grass in recent years, I'm going to say, even though it was so far back. But Novak's basically not losing at Wimbledon. Well, on grass, but he's only been playing Wimbledon. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there could have been this like Djokovic, Cilic veteran storyline, but we will actually get a very different one. And it will be Flavio Cobolli playing him in his first Grand Slam quarterfinal. Flavio has had like a total turnaround this season of, winning Hamburg, winning Bucharest, and then I don't know, just from the rough start to the year, making himself a real threat, probably for like the top 20 soon and stuff like that. And yeah, today he was able to stop Marin Cilic, who had this vintage run.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he started the year like 0-8.
He won the first 2 matches, but then he lost 8 in a row.
Yeah. And then like from there, he wins his first 250, first 500. Now is like, I don't know, is he going to be in the top 20 after this? Probably, right?
I'll check, but it seems like he could, yeah. I mean, last year at Wimbledon, I don't think he had a run, no, right?
Yeah, but obviously here beating Bencic the way he did, like so comprehensively, and then this win against Cilic was up a break in the fourth set. We thought maybe it was going to go 5. But honestly, like
he's guaranteed to break the top 20, even if Norrie wins Wimbledon, it just puts him at 20. So yeah.
All right, yeah. So yeah, that kind of tracks. And then like he's just been serving really well this tournament, which I don't associate with Cobolli because obviously he's incredibly fast off the ground and he's got this amazing explosive baseline game, and obviously he can hit like the way he kind of hit Rublev off the court in the Hamburg final and the runs that he had last year. Like, I know what he's capable of athletically and from the baseline and the weight of shot and all that, and he's also one of the better returners, but the serve, this tournament has really been firing. He won so many free points on that first serve today. And just whenever he got into any kind of extended rally against Cilic and was able to absorb his power, especially off the backhand side, it was impressive how he was able to turn defense to offense on so many occasions. And then really locked down in that tiebreak. He won like the last, I think he won 4 points in a row from 3 already and just kind of broke Cilic's first strike tennis. So it was an impressive win because Cilic it's not like he's not played well since the Draper performance. I mean, he beat Minaur in 4 and it was pretty decisive. And then here it looked like he was making a comeback. So Cobolli now gets a crack at this Djokovic, and you would expect it to be closer certainly than their Shanghai meeting for sure, which was a total blowout.
Yeah, there were large chunks of this match that like Cilic was dominating, and like he's the in attack percentages or whatever were so high. Yeah. But when it came to the crunch, when he like fell back a break in the fourth, Cobolli really woke up. He was just like, I don't know. He felt like, okay, the fifth set is close. I have to make some sort of a push. And he really stood up to him in like the last few games. It was not as one-sided in terms of who's dictating more anymore. Yeah, very complete skill set for sure. Pretty dangerous player on all surfaces, as you can see. And this was also the first set he dropped this fortnight. That was today against Marin Cilic. So obviously, before that, he had a pretty safe passage to the fourth round. Should be pretty well rested for the Djokovic clash. I still don't know if this is really possible. I don't know if he does enough in terms of being, I don't know, just unpredictable. If he does have like enough of the, I don't want to say that he doesn't have the X factor because he does, but I just don't really know what he makes Novak like that uncomfortable with, compared to the other players. Because like even the Minaur, he's obviously like such an excellent retriever, and most top players just still manage to handle him, and Novak did today. But you can like very clearly see what potentially is the way for Alex de Minaur to make Djokovic or any other player at least uncomfortable for a while. I don't know about Cobolli, but yeah, I mean it's a massive run for him, and a great opportunity that on grass I don't think we really would have expected. Even in the warm-ups, he was fine, of course, in Halle, saving the match point against Fonseca, but I don't know if I would have like picked him as a potential Wimbledon quarterfinalist, especially of course when we saw that Draper and Bublik were going to be here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw him coming out of that Draper Bublik section. Or even after the Fonseca win in Halle, you were like, okay, that's a really good win, but you didn't really expect him to do it best of 5 on grass without dropping a set to the quarters. The manner that he has, and also the way he's been serving, he's going to need to keep on bringing that, and he will have to be a little bit more unpredictable. He will have to throw in a little bit more junk if he can do that. I don't know if that's really in his repertoire right now, because he's just just like so explosive off the ground. But I don't know if he can mix it up as well as some of the other top players can right now. But he's more kind of in that Matteo Arnaldi mode. Although I have to say, he's if you're having an Arnaldi Cobolli debate, maybe this tournament maybe changes things for a few people. But
honestly, when I see how Cobolli is playing and like what sort of results he's getting,
yeah,
when I sort of compare it to Arnaldi, I'm just like, why are you underperforming? Do you see what Flavio is doing? Join him. But yeah, I mean, they're getting, obviously, like the gap between them is getting wider and wider by the day.
I think so. Yeah. So I kind of like his potential, and I've been high on him for a while. Like watching him up close last year in DC, where he made the final, and then lost in 3 to Korda. He beat Shelton along the way, and I was like, yeah, this guy like kind of has the tools to be like a top 10 player one day. So let's see if he can keep it going and be more consistent. But it's a pretty good tournament, regardless of what happens against Djokovic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to the men's matches that we had today. Later on, obviously, we'll also talk about what's to come tomorrow, at least a little bit. Let's see on the women's side. I mean, different day for sure in terms of like less massive storylines. We had 4 straight set matches, but also some very good individual performances. Where do we start? Actually, maybe with the one that I did watch along on. So you guys have already heard a lot of my thoughts on Iga Świątek's win over Clara Tauson. I mean, if she's serving like this, she's kind of a contender for Wimbledon right now.
Yeah, I mean, she threw in 4 double faults in the first 2 service games and made 7 on 4 serves. But after that, she was kind of flawless the rest of the way. Like the serve was just cooking, and then off the ground, she was just dealing with Clara's slices so well, and just like the gap between their movement was really exposed, in a way, and that's the big edge that Iga really has. So yeah, after that, it was pretty smooth the rest of the way, honestly. And if she keeps playing like this, she's got Samsonova next, who she has a really good. I mean, she's able to just absorb Windmill's power much better than some of the other top players. And I think, the serve has been a big emphasis for her, and she just looks more comfortable overall. And like there were some really good defensive points as well, where she did use her forehand slice on one of them, got back into the rally. That point to go up. I think it was 3-1, 40-30 maybe in the second, where she ends up finishing it off with a backhand pass. Definitely one of the highlights of the match.
Yeah, I mean, I was still on the Clara overhead, but sure. But yeah, I kept thinking about the Stuttgart semi-final she had against Rybakina last year, when basically all we were saying is that match was like so fast-paced. Average rally was 3 or 4 shots, and that's how Elena just took all her assets away from, took all of Iga's assets away from her. And this one was maybe even more rapid. Like, I couldn't believe how quickly they were holding or even breaking serve. When they were breaking serve, it was also 4 or 5 points, and all of them were just like +1 shots, really. And in that sort of a scenario, Iga usually doesn't fare too well, because like that's not her strength. Okay, she's a great returner, but like serve return game, yeah, most players, most big flat hitters are going to be at least trying to get a match like this into that territory against her. And for Towson, that just wasn't an option today with how Iga started serving, with how, the low slices as well. Clara obviously doesn't move too well. She doesn't have like that sort of like agility, to when she's wrong footed, it just looks painful. But because of that, she very often defends with these low slices and balls that barely get over the net. You have to handle them somehow. I mean, I've seen Iga struggle with this so many times. And yet today, she's just like stepping in, not willing to follow them up to the net as well, regardless of how comfortable she looks there. And that was also such a big difference maker. I mean, we've spoken about this as well during the watch long or on the Iga Carlos show, but the fact that she is playing this grass season, with such different expectations and with no mental, physical fatigue from just dominating the entire clay season, it's allowed her to focus on the grass in a completely different way. And we can see that. Now, I guess the question is like what she does with this from here. But the opening that kind of, was there when Rybakina lost 2000. She's taking it. And obviously, the next few rounds will decide how the rest of this goes. But her second Wimbledon quarterfinal is going to be ahead of her, and she will play Ludmila Samsonova, who hasn't lost a set so far.
Yeah, Samsonova on the grass. I was kind of waiting for a time where she would actually show it at Wimbledon and finally make that quarterfinal, because she's been so capable for so long, winning that title in Berlin in 2021, and then just like always does well in the warm-ups. So now to see it actually translate here, I mean, it's a good fourth round for her against who's this Minaur. Her favorite service is grass still, the way that she plays. But Samsonova just with that big serve, big forehand, the drop shot as well, and just like how, it's another one of those matches where Iga will have to diffuse that serve and then just try to get Samsonova moving and keep. I don't think there's much different that Iga really has to do in terms of her natural game. So it's just going to be kind of if she's able to bring it and if Samsonova can sustain that really high level she's been showing. But Iga's
do you think that
Towson
Collins, playing these kind of matches, it's a good warm up for Samsonova?
I think so. I think it could be a good test, especially like Collins. I guess Towson a little bit, especially with the power element of it and the serving. Yeah, I mean, I guess it can be decent warm up.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's kind of the conundrum of like playing these big servers, big flat hitters. That in a way, I mean, what kind of danger they are, and like that you're going to struggle to handle their pace, their ball. But at the same time, you know exactly what's going to happen. Like you know exactly what sort of shot is coming any given moment. So it's easier in a way. It's tougher. I don't know. Maybe I would actually say that I would be less, from Swiatek's perspective right now, I would be like maybe less certain that she's going to perform pretty well against someone like Andreeva or Bencic, whom we're going to get to, than against like just yet another power hitter. She's already handled a few of them this grass season, even not only Wimbledon, Alexandrova in Stuttgart, for example. So she kind of looks like she might indeed go even further than she did last time at Wimbledon when she was in the quarterfinals. Although Samsonova, of course, very dangerous when she gets hot. Yeah, the head-to-head might be pretty good, but there's more of a story in there, especially if the Stuttgart 2022 match.
2022 Stuttgart, that's the one.
Yeah,
that was the closest. But yeah, I pretty much agree. I mean, Rybakina and Alexandrova are probably more flatter hitters, and Samsonova hits the ball hard, but it's also pretty heavy, and it's maybe more or less disruptive with like the slices and the really low balls. Obviously, she's gonna have to watch out for the drop shot, but I kind of think, I agree with you in terms of like the Bencic and Andreeva with the forehand slices and the redirecting and the pace absorbing style. I think that's on grass. That might be more of a different type of challenge than what you guys used to from the rest of the tour right now. So
yeah, could be more sort of related to the Pegula final in Bad Homburg in some ways, rather than what we've seen her handle very well so far. But of course, well, the quality of the serving, if it's also as good against Samsonova, that would be a major boost as well. That's what Lyudmila is hoping to win the match on, basically. And if that is so good again, if there are numerous 1 minute 15-second holds once more, I don't know, they will be. But if they are there, if they're happening, that
And
looks
then
pretty
the players that Iga has lost to on grass in her career or at Wimbledon so far, they haven't necessarily been those like big flat hitters.
No, she
Not at all.
absolutely has never lost to a player like that other than like Ostapenko years back. Yeah.
Yeah, like at Wimbledon the last. Yeah, I mean it's been like Jabor and Kudinseva
Cornet,
and Svitolina, Cornet.
Putintseva, yeah.
So
Svitolina, who I know is playing a little different right now, but still definitely doesn't belong in the big power hitter category. So I guess since Ostapenko, since a few years, her losses on grass have been a little different. Although, well, as always with grass, we have to say low sample size. I mean, let's head to the other two quarterfinalists. Marcus, yes, it was obvious he fell and couldn't continue anymore. When you're retiring 2 sets up, I mean, nobody would just claim an injury. That's when you are down 2 sets. Well, Bencic and Andreeva obviously have made it through. Andreeva could kind of be maybe compared to, well, I don't even know who. But basically going into Wimbledon, I think she had like 1 win in her last 4 grass court events. And she hasn't dropped a set making the quarters. Has she had a pretty easy draw? I would probably say so. But, she already had a Wimbledon run in 23. And by now, when you're in the quarterfinals, I don't think she's really much weaker than any of the other players left.
Yeah, honestly, she's probably a contender for me for the title, like after watching this today against Navarro, because I did think this would be a little bit closer. I mean, I definitely thought Mira is just all around a better player, but and the way she was overpowering Navarro, how much of a gap there was in terms of their first serve potency, and then also like the cat and mouse points pretty much always went Mira's way. She broke serve like 6 times. Like this was a pretty dominant 6-2, 6-3. Just like a little over an hour. Like there wasn't, and Navarro was able to extend rallies, make it kind of physical, get you into those tight 3-set matches. Like she was kind of hoping for some of that today, but Mira just like didn't allow it at all. So and obviously the forehand slice works so well on the surface. Just the way she's able to redirect their backhand line, and you don't really see it coming. So many times that caught so many times it caught Emma off guard, really. And then even on the second serve as well, and on the forehand, that's maybe where you could maybe try to rush her, but Emma doesn't really have that kind of power to do that right now. And Mira was just really able to use her higher loopier forehands, get herself back in position, and then just find herself on attack again. So there's always a question of like how will she handle the occasion mentally, because in some of her losses recently, obviously that's been the bigger thing for her rather than the actual tennis and the parts of her game not working as well. So if we're going strictly based on the tennis, she's absolutely a title contender for me right now. Like I could see her not only getting to the final but even winning the tournament already.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty even between a few of these players in the bottom half for sure, or maybe even all of them. Sabalenka kind of stands as the big favorite in the top one, but she's in contention at least. I wasn't really honestly even aware of how poor her recent results on grass were. I knew of the 2025 ones, but I forgot she didn't have a win on the surface in 24. But knowing how she performed at Wimbledon when she was just in her breakout season in 23, I didn't really think much of it, to be honest. So yeah, even if she's had a pretty easy draw so far, definitely a player that from here on out will be dangerous no matter who she plays, really. And the player she is going to face, Belinda Bencic, today defeated Ekaterina Alexandrova. So, another one of these very dangerous, powerful flat hitters on grass. And Bencic, typically, she is known as a bit of an underperformer at the other slams. Although at Wimbledon, she was once very close to making the quarterfinals. 2 match points against Iga Swiatek. But it is still somewhat surprising that, right now, after such a tremendous career, this is where she makes her first quarterfinal at a slam outside of the US Open.
That was always crazy to me, that last stat, that she'd never done a quarterfinal outside of US, because she's been like way too good for that, really. So I was kind of waiting for a deep run somewhere, and now it's happened here. Obviously, she had a really good start to the year, but then since then got injured and then struggled with her confidence. And then here, like, she comes through and it makes sense, like on grass. Like, we always remember the Swiatek match from 2 years ago where Iga had to save those 2 match points. And you watch that and you're kind of thinking like, yeah, she should be, making a Wimbledon quarterfinal at some point. And so now she is. This rivalry with Alexandrova is always really tight. It was like 4-4 coming in, and this again, when Bencic served for it at 5-3 in the second and didn't convert, that was one moment where you thought like, okay, Alexandrova is back in this, and is this going to be another repeat of 2 years ago? But honestly, Bencic's ability to just absorb the pace and just keep her opponents on the move, and the way she's also been protecting her second serve as well. Like, it didn't get attacked as much as I thought it would at times, because it still looked kind of shaky in her third round, where yeah, like she had a really battle in that one, and she came through in a super tiebreak, and she was down like 2-4 in the third, so she very easily could have lost to Kochiro Red already. But the fact that she won this and broke right again to win the match, and then now she has a real shot at Andreeva. It's interesting. I wouldn't make her the favorite though in that match for sure, given how we've seen Mira play right now. I would still back Mira. I think she would have just too much game. But it's kind of interesting. We compare Mira all the time to Martina Hingis, or a lot of people do, and like Bencic, Martina Hingis is a big influence for her too. I don't think they played yet, so.
I wasn't aware of the Andreeva Hingis comparisons being that popular, but fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Bencic obviously played just one match in their warm-up swing, was injured, lost to Alexandrova very heavily in that match. So to
it was
beat
like
the
6-1,
same
6-2 or
opponent,
something when they played.
yeah, like 6-1, 6-2. Yeah, she to defeat her now, that kind of serves as a very nice, just like comeuppance or whatever. Also, I was thinking when Alexandrova had that game where she saves the 5 match points, I'm just like, okay, so in the warm-ups, Alexandrova lost after 11 match points against Mertens. How crazy would it be if now she does the same, but the other way around? Obviously, it didn't happen in the end, but yeah, Bencic knows very well how to like make all these power players suffer, redirect the ball from this low crouch that she goes into. And yeah, it's nasty to face on grass. I think if she was going to make that big run at a slam outside of the US Open, was going to be here or Australia, just conditions that fit that kind of game a bit better. And yeah, I mean, now she's going to take on Mira Andreeva. Sounds very exciting. I think obviously not as kind of like 1 and 2 type of match like Samsonova Swiatek will be, or Swiatek Towson will be. That's actually kind of what I like about this bottom half as well, that Swiatek and Samsonova will just like take on each other in this big battle. Andreeva Bencic will be a little bit more of a chess match, and then these two styles will clash against each other. So I'm just sure that whoever wins out of Andreeva and Bencic will provide a very different challenge to the other semifinalist. And between them, yeah, I mean, like you said, I probably wouldn't make Belinda the favorite. I think over the course of the week, obviously, Mira has performed a lot more, just consistently. But I can't say that that the assets that Belinda has cannot hurt Mira. We still see her kind of like fall apart sometimes or get frustrated when she has to dictate a bit more, when she like has to go more like frontal offense, let's say. She lost to Magdalena Frech this grass court swing. I'm not saying Frech's and Bencic's game are that similar, but I guess there are some common points. So yeah, should be very exciting, and maybe this is going to be one of the better quarterfinals actually. Waffles or chocolates? What sort of a discussion is that, Nurlan? That's like if you asked me strawberry or I don't know, pork chop. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Bencic Eka the best today, says Kirit. Probably, yeah. On the women's side, I would agree.
Yep.
Strawberry pasta, yeah, that's something that apparently Iga Swiatek likes, and not everybody thinks that this is a decent combination.
Is
But
that
well,
a common thing in Poland? Is that a common dish?
no. It's
No.
not at all. No. I feel like I've seen it once or twice, but I don't even know if it was in Poland or just, in some YouTube video or something like that. But I've never had it. I don't think it's common whatsoever. I don't think we even have like pasta dishes that are very strictly Polish. Like obviously we eat a lot of pasta, but it's probably just like the imported stuff. Or maybe we do. I mean, we eat a lot of pasta in soups, which I don't think other countries necessarily do. But no, strawberries and pasta. Well, maybe I will try it tomorrow. Yeah, do we have anything more left to say on these fourth round matches from today or the quarterfinals that they set up?
No. I think we can look ahead.
Okay. So obviously tomorrow, as we said, there will be no more last ball drops, just watch-alongs for the matches. And well, the first one to start on court number 1 will be Fritz against Khachanov, followed up by Anisimova Pavlyuchenkova, and on center court it will be Sabalenka Zygmunt, followed up by Norrie and Alcaraz. As a challenger fan, the second week of a slam is usually when I kinda start to tune out, and I can't say I'm all that excited about tomorrow's lineup, but probably Anisimova Pavlyuchenkova will be the one that I will catch if anything.
Yeah, I mean the ball striking in that one is going to be really good. This is definitely Anisimova's. Anisimova has a great chance here for sure. But Pavlyuchenkova, man, the way she's been playing this year in these like the Australian Open quarterfinal and then now another quarterfinal here. I think this is like her 10th overall. Like that's this is the first time since 2011 she's done 2 quarterfinals in the same season. So she's bringing it at these majors, and it'll be interesting for me to see how not Samsonova, how Anisimova deals with the expectations, because she is expected to win this quarterfinal and get to the semis for the first time. She did make the quarters in 2022 and eventually lost to Halep, but she's definitely playing some of her best tennis. She's at 8 in the live rankings. Obviously has a 1,000 this year. The match against Noshkova could have easily gone the other way. It was very, very tight. Noshkova was up a break in the third. And obviously one of the best backhands that you'll ever see, really. The timing on that wing is just pristine. So for that reason, I'm probably going to slightly lean with Anisimova. Pavlyuchenkova has more experience for sure at this stage.
Pavlyuchenkova has a lot of experience at
And a
the
lot
Grand
more
Slam
years
quarterfinal
also.
stage and a lot of experience losing at the Grand Slam
34 years.
quarterfinal
I think
stage.
she only has 1 quarterfinal win, right? And that was when she made the final of RGA.
Exactly, yeah.
So
for years, she was kind of like this perennial quarterfinalist, gets that one run, and then sort of comes back to the same. Well, anytime she does it right now, I don't feel like we really expect it. Most people would probably say she's never going to make a slam quarterfinal anymore, but she keeps doing it.
Yeah.
And I
needs
mean,
one more
you
at the
kind of
US Open, and then she'll have 2 in every single slam.
that's something for her to try to go for in New York this year. Yeah, for sure. Anisimova has to be a favorite. I think she also has a very good record against Pavlyuchenkova. But I do like just the way that they will be clashing. That's sort of like a ball striking battle. This should be good to watch on grass. Zygmunt Sabalenka. Zygmunt, by the way, one of the players who has not dropped a set this Wimbledon.
The scorelines have been wild too. But also, the draw. So this is Sarah. But then really the win against Keys, where she really, confounded and won like 19 out of 22nd serve return points. And just, completely diced her up.
That would be a crazy winner for this title, Laura Zygmunt from outside the top 100.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't know if she can trouble Sabalenka. I just, in these kind of matches, there's always that risk that Sabalenka just dominates and wins like 1 and 2. And there's like absolutely nothing Zygmunt can really do. But there's obviously all that junk and all the stuff that she can do that can make Rena uncomfortable, but she has to have time on the ball. And that's going to be the big thing. Can she buy herself that time? I mean, recently, Sabalenka's kind of been doing, has been so great in tie breaks, but she's been playing a lot of tie breaks and getting herself, these leads and these sets, and then still sometimes the leads go away, and there is a chance, and Sigmund can really slow down the pace. She takes a long time in between points, as we know. She has this routine. Like I could see it winding up Sabalenka a little bit occasionally, and maybe we get ourselves a close set at least. She definitely has a little bit of a chance in that sense, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it could even
there
be a
is some
blowout.
excitement in there, and that mostly comes from the fact that it's like a very unpredictable, very intelligent player coming up against Sabalenka.
Yeah.
But there's no way of telling like if this will be a 6-love blowout or a very close match. Honestly,
Mm.
both ways, both options I feel like could very much happen. Of course, the 6-love blowout I was talking about Sabalenka, not Zygmunt. I know the San Diego boy I'm talking to right now will also be watching Alcaraz play Cameron and Norrie. What an
Yes.
amazing match this will be. I can't wait.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, they've already had pretty amazing matches. I mean, like, you remember the Cincinnati Clash in 2022, or like, some of those Golden Swing matches. Rio, of course. Of course, Alcaraz got injured in that one, but still, like Norrie, the way he's been playing on court one. I mean, Norrie would have loved this match to be on court one. He just has a phenomenal record there, and he just vibes with that court much more. But he's finally kind of, back to where he, I wouldn't say he's completely back to 2022, 2023 levels, but he's getting there. And what does Alcaraz have that can hurt Norrie?
Definitely not huge lungs in this department. He does not belong. I don't know if he bikes to Wimbledon either.
Yeah, so Norrie has an edge in those two areas for sure. But I think no, honestly, I think Norrie is still going to present some difficulties when it comes to like maybe the wide serve on the ad side, just the rally tolerance, obviously just the backhand how low it can get. I mean, just all the things we know about Cam Norrie. But the question is, can Alcaraz lock down now after, or are we going to see still some more roller coasters? Because for sure, Cameron, like almost every single match I'm going into it, I'm like, yeah, they could win a set.
Yeah. Actually, I that's actually my feeling about this. I just feel like Cam's game is messy enough that he definitely wins a set tomorrow, but it will probably be the end of it. It's just gonna be a roller coaster, a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But eventually, I just expect the winner to be this one guy on the left. Definitely, by the way, Jane, don't worry about it. Vansh knows that I will not be too excited to watch Cameron Norrie, regardless of the opponent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe that's a stretch, but still. Yeah, I don't think I'm tuning into this unless he's like 2-1 up. And also, of course, Fritz and Khachanov, which is another match that it just doesn't really fall into my viewing, preferences or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, both players have survived 5-setters so far. Both have had a really tough path to get there. I was very impressed though with Khachanov played against Mike Schrack. With how Khachanov played against Mike Schrack, and I'm just like, yeah, sure. Maybe he actually has a shot now. They also like both really like these physical, just go cross court type of rallies. And maybe that's also going to be something that helps Karen make it close. Also, they haven't played in like 5.5 years, which for two players who have been so consistently at the top is pretty shocking.
Yeah, their last meeting was in ATP Cup, which doesn't exist anymore, and that was in 2020. And yeah, the match against Kavila was definitely pretty impressive. Just like how much more like aggressive Khachanov was in that one, and how confident he was. Just from the back of the court hitting just so huge, which he wasn't doing at all in the previous two rounds. Sometimes his opponents didn't allow it, like Borges, who's always going to be tricky with keeping the ball as low as he does. And then the round before that, he also went 5. So, but both guys honestly have, and Fritz should be pretty fresh now with the Thompson giving him the retirement. And yeah, I mean, obviously Fritz is the favorite, but Khachanov can certainly make it close. Like I don't think this will be straight sets for Taylor. I see Khachanov finding a way here and making it physical and tough, and Taylor is gonna have. I don't know if it's a similar situation to last year against Musetti, a little bit where Taylor definitely came in as a favorite, and at the end you have to have been a little bit disappointed that he didn't come through. Just from that perspective. I wonder if it's the same thing here, but there's just maybe less.
Is it me? Is it Vansh? I don't know. Could be Vansh, I guess, because I can see the producer, I can see myself. It is Vansh. So I will just basically say that yeah, I agree with that. Western Greek merchants, that was a funny comment in the chat as well. I don't think this is particularly my brand of tennis, what they're going to show tomorrow. Again, very physical, very focused on like the efficiency of their ground strokes rather than maybe taking the risks that I want to see, just the fun of it for me. But nonetheless, definitely another close battle, and we will see how this continues. The bottom half on the men's side kind of feels like, just Alcaraz to the final, whatever way it happens, he will just be there. Maybe. I don't know if that actually will be the case. Today, honestly, the men's event was like so close to completely just like crashing. Because I was watching Novak play, and I'm just thinking, okay, so if Novak is going to lose here, then it's like Sinner Alcaraz final. Just wake me up when this happens. And then Sinner actually was so close to crashing out as well. And the favorites remained in the event, but at least it gives you some sort of an idea on how it didn't need to be like this, and it might actually be more chaotic than we think. I mean, Vansh is going to be back in 2 minutes, and we will probably just finish the stream then. But if there is a question, Shelton or Draper, I mean, I'm not convinced that Shelton even has to win a slam. Am I convinced that Draper has to win a slam? A little more, maybe a little more. But I mean, one is in Wimbledon, and he could have a shot to win even this one. Tough one, to be honest. I mean, Shelton is more explosive, obviously. Draper is more high floor. Maybe it kind of evens out. I really don't know what to say. It feels like for now, this landscape that we have on the ATP Tour is really all about who takes out Sinner and Alcaraz. So if that opportunity presents itself to one of them, I think they might be able to take it. Of course, after Wimbledon, it's also easy to just be very pessimistic about Jack because he didn't handle the nerves, didn't handle the situation. But maybe he will be at some point. If I had to put my money on Sinner or Novak making the final right now, given what we saw today, who is it? Oh my, this is also a difficult question. Let me see the one from Sean first. Would you put Nori or Khachanov in a similar bracket career-wise? I guess you'd have to, but I'd just say Khachanov has been doing it for longer. I mean, the achievements are fairly similar, but Khachanov has just been there for twice the same time as Cam. So I would say Karen has that longevity aspect over him for sure. And if I had to put my money on Sinner Novak making the final right now, maybe Vansh, you can take this one because I'm kind of lost. If you had to put your money on Sinner Novak making the final after today, who is it?
I don't know. That's actually tough. After today, I might go with Novak. What do you think?
Maybe after today, I'd just pick Alcaraz to win the title. Maybe that's my answer.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just say, in classic Damian fashion, I'll just say it doesn't matter.
But what if what if Yannick's physical issues are not really what we think they are, and he just wipes the floor with Shelton?
Yeah, then the question doesn't make sense, right? Because I mean, it makes sense, but like given what we saw today,
yeah. I mean, Sinner's gonna have to play a lot better than what he did today, for sure. Like he's nowhere near the level that he wants to be. So
yeah,
if he doesn't get better from here.
After today, you can start having doubts. Maybe in 2 days' time, you're gonna stop.
Yeah. So given what we saw today, I would probably say Novak.
Fair enough. Kirit says he would rather see Korpach in the Wimbledon final, men's singles. I probably would pass in the women's singles final as well. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered it all. Fourth rounds of today, quarterfinals of tomorrow, well, and also of the day after. Anyway, we, as I said a few times already, are switching more to a watch-along system. So tomorrow you definitely can join the channel for that. Keep subscribing, keep watching, keep liking. Last Ball Drops, we say goodbye, but US Open in a couple of months, we will be bringing that show maybe, as well, as the US Open is a little bit problematic with Last Ball Drops, actually. So maybe don't listen to me on that. But anyway, thank you for the Wimbledon run. And we, of course, will see each other on the channel some point in the coming days as well. Thank you to everybody who showed up today in the chat. Once more, sorry to Grigor Dimitrov and his fans. Life is tough.
Yeah, indeed. A sad way to start the show. But we look ahead, and there's still many more promising matches ahead, and hopefully the tournament delivers.
Yeah. So once more, thank you to everybody. See you soon.
See ya.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.